My ex-MIL sent her church mob to harass my daughters and me, thinking we'd bow to their guilt tripping. Instead, I exposed her darkest secrets to her own community. Now, she's the one shunned, humiliated, and desperate for sympathy. Karma hit hard. If my ex-mother-in-law thought she could get away with harassing my daughters and me, she was in for a rude awakening. Instead of us being shamed, she's now the outcast of her own church, and I had front row seats to her downfall. I'm a 46-year-old single mom to 2 teenage daughters, 17 and 15, and life has been anything but peaceful since my ex-husband passed away in an accident last year. You'd think losing him would be the end of the drama, but no. His secrets came crawling out of the shadows like cockroaches. Turns out, he had an affair that resulted in 2 sons. To make matters worse, his mistress also died in the accident, leaving the boys orphaned. His parents, instead of focusing on the grandkids they actually had a relationship with, went into full battle mode. First, they tried to take my daughters away from me. Then, as if that wasn't enough, they started pushing to move into my house. One of these battles has landed us in court. The other? Over my dead body. This week was supposed to be special. My youngest had a birthday coming up, so we went to the weekend farmer's market, a local tradition, to let her pick out her favorite treats. She was happily shopping when, suddenly, my phone rang. She was sobbing. She barely got the words out, but I could hear voices in the background. By the time I got there, I found 6 older women surrounding her, cornering her like a pack of wolves. They were berating her, calling her unchristian for refusing to spend time with her grandparents, and heartless for not wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. These women, some of whom I recognized from my ex-in-law's church, had been sent by my ex-MIL to publicly shame my child. What they didn't expect was that they were about to get a very different kind of Sunday sermon. I stepped between them and my daughter, telling my eldest to pay for the items and head to the car. Then I turned on these so-called Christian women and let them have it. They tried to pull the good Christian wife card on me, insisting I should have obeyed my ex-in-laws. Barf. I wasn't in the mood for their sanctimonious nonsense, and by the time I was done, they knew it. The shouting match grew so intense that the market staff asked all of us to leave. These women followed me all the way to my car like vultures circling a meal. I got my daughters inside, locked the doors, and drove off. But I wasn't done. That night, after my daughters went to bed, I reached out to a church member I still had good terms with. When I told him what happened, he apologized and filled me in on the real reason behind the attack. My ex-MIL had posted a sob story in the church's Facebook group, painting herself as the pitiful grandmother abandoned by her heartless family. According to her, my daughters and I had left her and her husband homeless and penniless, despite the fact that they inherited my ex's personal bank account and life insurance. She also claimed my daughters had cruelly cut her off and that I had stolen her grandsons from her. The truth? The boys were placed with distant relatives from my ex's side, because even the state realized my in-laws weren't fit to care for them. Normally, I wouldn't have cared about what some judgmental churchgoers thought, but then I saw the disgusting lie she had spread to cover up her son's cheating. My ex-MIL knew the church had a zero-tolerance policy for adultery, so instead of admitting her son had fathered 2 kids with his mistress, she spun a different tale. She claimed the other woman was our surrogate because I was unable to have more children, and that I rejected the boys simply because they were male. That was the moment I decided enough was enough. Since I was in the middle of divorcing my ex when he died, I had all the evidence I needed, and since the divorce never finalized, I had no legal reason to keep it quiet. The next day, I went to a print shop and made high-quality copies of everything. Photos of my ex cheating, text conversations with his mistress, messages from his parents supporting the affair, and the pièce de résistance, screenshots of my in-laws harassing my daughters. The most damning one? A message where they called my daughters bastards and blamed them for their father's death because they exposed his cheating. This message was sent 2 days after he died. I didn't just print these out, I made them into beautifully organized binders, styled to look exactly like the church's hymn book packets. The first page? a full-color image of my ex passionately kissing his mistress in our living room. Beneath it, their names underlined with the title, A Love Story. The best part? I delivered these binders to the church myself before Sunday service, placing them neatly among the real hymn books. Then I left and waited for the storm to begin. The fallout was delicious. The church's gossip mill went into overdrive, and the names my ex and his mistress were called online were so vile that even the pastor had to step in to tone things down. People were furious over what my in-laws had done to my daughters. Of course, I was still the villain for divorcing my husband, but in a forgivable way. Apparently, my failure was understandable due to the shock of betrayal, and they even invited me to rejoin the church for support. Yeah, that's not happening. As for my ex, MIL, she was completely disgraced. The church shunned her. Her social circle vanished overnight. She posted some dramatic rant on Facebook about how the elderly are neglected and abandoned, and how she wished her great son were still alive to take care of her. With what money? I was the breadwinner. And just in case anyone is wondering, my ex did have a will. He told me he had named our daughters as the beneficiaries. That was a lie. He left everything to his parents. But even after everything, I never fought to get any of it for myself, because unlike them, I actually have a conscience. My only priority was my daughters. My in-laws? They made their bed. Now they can lie in it.